Hello, land investors and outdoor enthusiasts. This is Josh from US Rec Land. Today, we don't have any land, but we have a continuation of our educational series that we're going to build out some more for you guys. So I'm kind of going in chronological order of most highly popular questions, things that we see on FAQs during our journey throughout the days. So I figured today, what we'll talk about is landlocked land. What is it? What does it really mean? Is it an opportunity for me as a land investor? Should I avoid it like the plague? What's the real scoop? So we're going to delve into that here a little bit today. But as always, if you don't mind, please subscribe to usrecland.com. We have vacant raw land. We have everything from rural to residential infill lots. To great investment lots, plots for mobile homes, modular homes, tiny homes, RV living, although there aren't that many, as those of you that I've spoken to are well aware. RV living zoning is difficult to come by. So a lot of counties are rescinding the designation to allow it. But at any rate, we'll get to the landlocked here. We'll stick to that for now. So let's get started on what is landlocked, and what we're really talking about with landlocked. What we're saying is, does it have legal access, meaning that which is recognized by the county on legal documents that are acceptable legal documents that convey my right to legal access to the property. Okay. Now I'm giving you the watered down version. Real estate attorneys, don't waste your time. I'm trying to get everybody to get a basic grasp of this. Real estate attorneys, don't even waste your time commenting. I'm trying to get folks a base where they can build from for their own DIY due diligence in the beginning to see if the property is viable for them, the utility, and what they'd like to use the property for and how they want to develop it. Okay. So legal, physical access are two different things, but one and the same. If you want to buy it, you probably want both, but we'll talk about each independently. So what we're looking for is legal access. Okay. And I want to know that there's a legal access to the property. Sometimes this isn't always clear. Okay. You can look at a map, and that's typically where you start. You look at a map and say, does this lot have frontage on a roadway, on a public roadway? Okay, that might be a dirt road. That might be a paved main thoroughfare that's maintained by the county. That could be a private road that's owned by a private citizen that has the right to gate that road at any time. That would be an issue, right? So when you're looking at legal access, so that's the first thing I want to know, because legal access does not mean physical access. That does not mean that there aren't trees and land clearing that needs performed to give you clear access to actually drive to the property. So I want to differentiate there. But obviously, before we worry about clearing someone else's land, I want to know that we're clearing access to our own property. Okay. So there's a couple things within that, a couple things to double check, even if it looks obvious. Okay. So let's take a look here at a couple things. Sorry, guys. What is going on? I can't get access to my photos, guys. Come on. Sorry about this. I got to get access. There we go. Jeez. All right, we're going to start with this image. We'll use this as the example. Let's assume that you're looking for a piece of property and it's rural, and this is what you pull up on the map. Now, this could be Google Satellite, maybe for your initial review, but as we'll talk about, I highly suggest working on the county ArcGIS map There are other map overlays available as well. But let's just say this is the property you're looking at. And let's say you started at Google Maps, but you were keen enough because you saw this video to go look at the county ArcGIS. So let's say this is the rough parcel outline. This is not a survey line. This is the rough parcel outline, which should be close to any survey because the county is the one who delineated the parcel size and dimensions, right? What do you need a survey for? I digress. Again, don't get me started with counties and title companies. So here we go. So it looks like, to the naked eye, just an initial review, looks like we have frontage to this dirt road. Looks like we even own a little sliver of land. Now, a lot of times these county maps are notorious for just slightly being moved left or right and being off center. So maybe this moves down just enough to where there's only a little sliver, maybe a triangle right here that even touches the road. Now, that very well could be a problem. A lot of your zoning requires a measurement of frontage, 30 feet, 80 feet, 45 feet. You might have a minimum measure of frontage to build on the lot because you need a driveway, right? And if you don't have the access, even though there might be a small portion that touches the road and you might otherwise have legal access, like the surrounding parcels, unfortunately, a lot of times when they've delineated these parcels, the shapes ended up being what they were, and there was no further consideration. Well, I want to make sure the lot's buildable. You can thank your civil engineers and your people in charge of government for that. They'll charge you taxes for it, but then tell you it's not buildable because of the delineation of the boundaries that they delineated, instead of just saying, you know what, there's enough room for a driveway, we'll let you build on it. So that's the first one. It looks like we have access, but sometimes these are off. And if this is off just enough, it might only proffer a small amount of frontage. It might only give me 12 feet of frontage. Well, what if the minimum frontage is 30 feet? I don't have enough frontage. Therefore, even though it's zoned residential, they're going to tell me it's unbuildable. This is the legalistic side of this. All right, guys. So what we want to do is we want to verify that, and we want to go to the county. But just giving you an idea, this is where you get started. Let me get a rough parcel outline, start looking at what hypothetically would be my frontage access. There's no roads here, right? Now, that does not mean there's not legal access over here, and that's something we can look into. It's not cleared physical access, but we might have legal access as delineated and outlined in the plat maps at the county. I'm just starting with the obvious one here at the front, because if I can make that one work, I think most people, even if you're not real estate or land savvy, most people think the front of their lot that their primary residence is has frontage on a main road, right? Okay. So looking at this again, just make sure it doesn't slide down on you. And it looks like you even own a little plot over here. This may be pretty close on, but even worst case scenario, if it came down, we still want to check it to make sure what frontage do we have. And then we can look at the dimensions at the county. So you're going to the county to look at those things. This one most likely has frontage here, and it most likely has enough. Cross your fingers, but we're going to double check just to be safe and sorry. And we're going to start with the obvious. If for some reason this came out that it was slid down and there was no frontage, there is a possibility that there's a legal access that cascades to the western boundary or the eastern boundary, which I would then look into just for sake of doing a full comprehensive due diligence, because now that doesn't mean I might not buy the property. Obviously, it's easier to clear 20, 30 feet in the drive, which that depends on your setback of your build. Obviously, it's easier to clear 20 or 30 yards than it is all the way down here in here. And now, and also too, I got to figure out who owns this if I'm coming down this way. But if you have legal access from the road to, then they're saying you have legal access here. This would not be typical of a side boundary, by the way. I'm just saying it'd be something to look into because we've seen craziness. All right. All right. Now, there's another issue. When I look at this, I want to make sure that this is a public road and not a private road. Okay. So it doesn't appear to be landlocked, but the access itself is my main goal. So legal access, meaning I have the legal right to access my property via this route. There are other things such as agreed upon easements between neighbors. I'm not going to get into all that because, quite frankly, that's a long shot. If you buy a property and you need to get your neighbors' cooperation to build a common easement utilizing his property so you have access, it's been done. People will barter with their neighbor and say, hey, please, I'll create an access at my expense, and then you have full utility of it. Sometimes they will allow it, sometimes they won't. But again, that's a long shot. You want legal, guaranteed access to your property. Okay. And there are situations where maybe you know the guy already. Fair enough. But I'm not even going to get into that. Then there's also utility easements, which you'll want to know regardless if there is a utility easement running through or to your property. Sometimes if that utility easement, if there's enough room for their vehicles to get in and out without you impeding it, sometimes they will allow you access to your property using their easement. You can get approval and permission. Again, these are one-offs. These aren't, I'm not using these ubiquitously. All right. Just mentioning it for those that want to double check us in the comments and, well, what about this? And what about this that happens 3% of the time? Yes, we know. We're trying to cater to the basic person looking for a piece of property that hasn't done it before. So some of the things to look out for. All right. All right. Let's get rid of that one. Now, let's take a look at a second example. This one's a little different. All right. Now, this outline is the lot. I don't see any roads. I see the parcel outlines and the platted maps. It looks like we have platted roads that were delineated here. We've even got some houses, other houses over here. The closest road I see is to the west, Volusia Avenue. So the quickest route to the front of my lot would be from Volusia right here. I'd have a driveway here. Now, it looks like it's platted out. The question is, who owns this? Is that a public road? It just hasn't been cleared. It's been platted and divided out in the records at the county, but they're not maintaining it right now. It's just open. So is this landlocked? Well, we don't completely know. If I have legal access, it's not necessarily landlocked because there would be the option to work with the county to get access to the front of the property. Okay, let's take a look. All right, here's that property. Here's Volusia here. So first, is this a public road or does somebody else own it? Click on it. I'm clicking on it. Nothing's popping up. If I click on this, it gives me the owner information, which I'm not going to show. It gives me the owner information and everything. If this was a private owner, it's public information. It would show John B. Smith, owner, parcel. They would have an assigned parcel number. And then that might be, maybe you know John, maybe you're like, hey, I'm going to get such a great deal on this vacant lot and I really like the location. It's worth giving John a call before I buy it to see if he'd work with me. And you also need to work with the county too, because even though John might own it, the county will most likely be involved in terms of their requirements for how it's cleared and what they're doing. That would be a process, by the way. And again, I'm only mentioning it. I don't want to get into the weeds with you. So the point is when you're looking, click on the roads. And if you don't get anything popping up like you do like there, notice I had the owner and all that information, then that is most likely a public road. It 99% is, but again, I like to double check and verify and contact the county to verify this is legal access to the front of this parcel number, right? Because I want to know for sure what I'm dealing with, what I'm buying, because all of that is going to impact what I can do down the road, how I can develop it, and all the hoops I'm going to have to jump through in permits. I just want to have to get normal permits to develop this and run through a standard process that's already kind of lengthy. So I don't want additional work when I go to develop the property. So that's why this legal versus physical access is so important. All right. Let's say this is public. And hey, you're in luck, Josh. We have plans at the county. We're going to clear this out for you. You don't. John doesn't own it. It's public. They're going to clear it, and you can purchase the lot. But what they ask of you is, hey, we're only going to clear it down to here. If you want to clear it to the front of your property so you have access off of Volusia to the front of your lot, here's what we require. And they would explain that to you. And so for a lot of you guys that are DIY that don't mind taking off some of these pretty large tasks, maybe you have a background in heavy equipment, land clearing, arborist, etc., and you're like, hey, I don't mind doing that to clear out to get to the front of my property, and then I'll do it all myself. It might be an opportunity for a great deal for you. Okay. But that these are something you really got to ask yourself the hard question. Am I really going to have time to do all this? Or do I really have the means, the resources, and do I want to do all this? So you can see they're divided out parcels. Looks like the roads and everything are platted out, but these are not cleared. They're obviously not being maintained by the county. So I need to find out if I actually even have legal access for starters. Then I can worry about physical access. And to get physical access, it looks like it's going to have to be cleared down from Volusia, which it's not that big of a deal for folks that know how to do it, have the equipment. It's not really that big of a deal, but you would need to work with the county on what their requirements would be and the permits that would need to be pulled to get frontage access here. If John doesn't own it, John B. Smith, right? Okay, so legal versus physical access. So is it landlocked? Is it not? Well, that depends on a few layers. And it also depends on what you're willing to do to change its status if it has legal access, but not physical access. That's something for you to look into. So let's go ahead and pull this up. Oh, sorry. All right. So yeah. So again, you can see this lot off of Volusia. There are other houses in the area. So you probably got power nearby. It's just everything where there's the urban sprawl, it just hasn't quite got to your lot. And oh, by the way, for you folks that just watched this and said, oh man, I don't want to clear that. That looks like 50 yards, 100 yards worth of trees. And oh, that's going to be expensive and all of this. Yeah, maybe. If you're a DIY person and you have the ability and the means and you're willing to work to get it done, you can get it done. But I'm going to tell you something. There's a great opportunity here because the fact that this is kind of the edge of the urban sprawl, what do you think this land value is going to do as soon as you improve it? You have automatic equity as soon as you improve that. A, B, after post the automatic equity, after you develop it, maybe you're putting a mobile home, manufactured, single family dwelling. These look like single family dwellings. I don't know what the zoning exactly is here, but these look like single family homes with ridged roof shingles. So as soon as you build and develop this and create access, the urban sprawl is just going to keep pushing that way with you over time, which means your real estate values are just going to go up and up and up. You're going to have great appreciation. That's why this might, in certain circumstances, each circumstance is different. You have to look at it. This might be a great equity and appreciation play for someone. Again, for someone that has the means and the resources and is willing to roll their sleeves up and put in a little sweat equity and work with the county, do the paperwork stuff. I don't like pushing paperwork any more than you, but unfortunately it's a necessary evil to get it done. But once you would have this done, you have this real estate development movement right behind you. You're right on the fringe of it. So you did all the work to get that set up, you've got, so for the next 10, 15, 20 years moving on, you're just going to have that driving your real estate value, property value up, up, and up. And you're going to have automatic equity as soon as you develop that property. So it might be an opportunity if you can get the land for the right price. You're going to spend your money on the other things other than the land. But when it's all said and done, you're probably going to have a great investment. You're going to have a great equity play, and you're going to have a great appreciation play. And who knows, if you're a savvy investor and you took the opportunity to do this and you start talking to the neighbors, maybe you pick up a few more parcels, maybe you start renting these out on annual leases, and further develop the cash flow based on the money that you input. Not also while you're enjoying the current equity that you had for developing the property from vacant land, and then also the appreciation over time. Not to mention, you also have real estate write-offs for your investing portfolio. Okay, so just wanted to talk a little bit about Landlocked. Might be an opportunity for some of the DIY salt of the earth folks. Might be a turnoff to some of the people that want to buy a vacant lot that's already cleared and perfect. You're going to pay for that, guys. I hear too many people that call and they say, well, I want it already cleared and ready to build with a septic, a well, and utilities already connected. Well, connected to what? There's no building. And nobody's going to go through that process to get all of those permits and get all of that done unless they had an intention to build. So if you do come across that, then most likely it's been sitting a while because the old manufactured home or mobile home was removed. And if your septic and well has been sitting a while without flow through, without being utilized, it's most likely going to be a bigger problem because the county might require you to remove it and start from scratch. So looking for that is very difficult to find land that doesn't already have a house on it. And I know so many people that are looking for that. It's like, nobody, it wouldn't make sense for someone to incur those costs of those utilities for the home and then not have the home there unless they ran out of money in the middle of developing the property, which is possible. But guys, that's like probably less than 1% of the vacant land market. So you have to be realistic and say, well, if I can get the raw vacant land for the right price, because that's the first step, and it's zoned correctly, and I verified my access on my physical, I know what I'm looking at with my physical access situation, and I know what the zoning is and the building is. Now the real money and the real work starts. Buying the land's the easy part. I keep telling everyone this, and they don't believe me. You're going to spend far more money on improving and developing the property, having contractors come build the property, or if it's a manufactured home or modular, they're just dropping. I mean, you're in assembling, you're going to have far more money in that than what you paid for the parcel, most likely. Right? So you really can't go look for land for $4,000 and then have a $4,000 budget. It's not going to work. You're just buying vacant land as an investor, waiting for it to appreciate at that point if you don't have the means to develop it. Right? So just finding, too many folks think that people just buy vacant land, dig a well and a septic, and have a utility pole ready to go. No, not unless they were planning on building. And if they did plan on building and the money ran out or something happened along the way, it's probably not that good, depending on how long the well and the septic have been sitting without operating. Because you want potable water and you want your septic system to have good flow through rate. All right. And again, I digress. I don't want to get in the weeds. Just trying to have folks think about what's landlocked and what it really means. Is it landlocked? You can't just look at one map and say it is. Now, is it physical? Is physical access an issue? Possibly. Look at that. But guys, I'm telling you, like a lot of lots you can find, it might be 15, 20 yards worth of woods that you need to clear to the front of your lot. That's nothing. That's nothing. That's easy. And you don't even have to do it yourself. Just hire someone local, $2,500, $3,500, something like that. And now you have access because you probably got the lot significantly cheaper because of the perceived value by the owner that sold it to you. right? So definitely don't necessarily shy away. But I also understand the other end of the spectrum is no, we're looking for land that's not going to be super difficult, and we want it already cleared, and we want the lot itself partially cleared. We want telephone poles with utilities that are already right at the front of the street with other homes. Great. But you need to understand you're going to pay for that. I mean, you just are. So the question is, what's the difference if you get the utilities on the vacant land already, which, like I said, you're not going to find. Well, you might find, but remnant septic and well is going to cost you more than it would to start from scratch. So I don't advise that, because you're going to go through the county and you're going to be going back and forth with the environmental services. And oh, well, our requirements require you that you have to pull the tank of the septic and start from scratch because we have new guidelines. Great. So I have to, at my expense, I have to pull the septic tank, excavate, then I have to start from scratch and pay the money to put the new septic tank in. Why not just buy the vacant land and improve it from scratch yourself and save the extra money on the other side? So for you folks looking for all the utilities there, you could get lucky, 1 in a million, but you're just wasting your time. That's my opinion. I wouldn't as soon as someone told us that they had vacant land with a remnant septic and remnant well, I'm probably not interested because I know the hindrance to that property. I'm probably going to have to get it removed. Unless I have a report showing that the septic and the well were being used within the past 4 or 5 months. Even then, that might be too long. Just depends on the area, percolation rate, yada, yada, yada. Okay, guys. So landlocked, is it really landlocked? What does that mean to you? What are the steps that you need to look at on what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do? Will better allow you to assess on a property, is it a deal for me? Because a deal for me is a lot different than a deal for you because it's dependent upon what I'm willing to do, my expertise, my resources, what I want to deal with or what I don't want to deal with. I might have just saved up the money over the years, and maybe I work 60 hours a week. I don't have time to go over there and mess with this. I'm working. I just want to pay folks to get it done. Great. But it may or may not be an opportunity depending on all of those factors. But just because you go on the map and it looks landlocked, might not be landlocked. There might be legal access. I might just have to clear. And I might look and the lot might, oh, there's a road right at the front. Well, double check that road. Is it a public road or is that privately owned? Because some of those rural country roads, sometimes they're privately owned. We've even run into situations where it's privately owned, but it's maintained by the county. And when I put it to the county, well, if you don't own it, is it a public road or not? Because if you're maintaining it for the public good, is it not? Is there some documentation that says the general public can use it, even though a private citizen owns it? Well, you can imagine the lack of answers that I got pushing with several people. But eventually I got to, yes, everybody can use it. But that's another story. I just want to make you guys aware of the kind of things that you need to just double check, even though it looks obvious on the map that, hey, let's say you were looking at this house right here. It looks obvious that it's Volusia Road. I'm 99.9% sure, but let's just double check that there's legal access. I know I got physical. I don't see any trees here, right? I got physical access. I want to make sure I have legal access as acknowledged and recognized at the county. So this one down here, all right, my closest spot. Looks like I got some trees to clear, but first, do I even have legal access down this corridor? Then if I can confirm that, all right, what am I getting into clearing these trees? What's the county going to require? What kind of costs and expense to clear down to my lot? Will the county price share? Can I talk to them about it? You could. Again, there's different circumstances with different situations depending on what has happened before, what's on the books, and what the county is open to. They may or may have not had plans to start maintaining and expanding their reach on these roads. That's going to impact whether they're going to help you or not. And most likely they're not. They're going to try and get you to do it at your expense in most cases. Worth a phone call, I guess. You never know when maybe it's just your luck and it's the right timing that you call the county and, oh, well, we just had a board meeting about this and we're going to expand that neighborhood and that subdivision and we're going to expand services and we're going to start clearing next March. You don't know, you can ask. Now also too, I know some of you say, well, I'm not going to mess with this. I'm just going to have the title company do it. Really? You know how many times that we've found the title company's mistake that you pay thousands of dollars to that acts all superior and all knowing? So I understand there's good title companies and there's bad title companies. But I think, unfortunately, in general, and not to pick on title companies, unfortunately, there's just too much blind faith in institutions. People just, they don't want to learn or know anything to become an informed consumer, and they just want to rely on a professional. Now, I agree with having a financial advisor and someone that can keep up with that because you don't want to be great, but you need to know something about it. You need to be educated to at least have an idea of what should occur and how it should occur. Unfortunately, that requires you educating yourself. This situation is no different. The title company can perform things for you, but there's a lot of title companies that they don't really know what they're doing and they don't have the best underwriters. People that are in it every day like us, we do a lot of work and we're more in the trenches than a lot of those brand new underwriters. And again, I'm not taking anything away. There's a lot of great people that work at the title, really know their stuff, and they can be a treasure trove of information. The reason I want you to call the county, right? Call them, push them like, hey man, I pay taxes. Answer these questions. Don't let them charge you $50 for a summary report that they tell you they may have done in 6 months. No, you serve the public good. I'm a tax-paying citizen. I want basic information. I'm not asking for something that's very comprehensive where I could expect to pay a lawyer to get it. This is public information, and I want to know if it's recorded on your internal book somewhere. And I want to know what that is exactly so I can write it down. And I'm taking your name, the date of the conversation, because I'm buying a piece of property and spending my own hard-earned money, right? So I know some of you will say, well, I just want to go with the title company. The blind faith thing, go at your own risk. But I'm just going to tell you, not all title companies are the same. And just having a title company is no guarantee of anything. Sometimes they do such a basic review. They miss so many things. It's just mind-boggling. It's like, wow, it's a good thing you're the title company and not a land investor, because you'd screw yourself 700 times under the sun on getting properties that you thought were useful that are not useful because you failed to perform a proper search in depth to get information and verify it was factual. So guys, just word to the wise. If you're going to use a title company, great, but understand the process. Educate yourself. That way, if you feel and sense that something's not right, or they're asking questions that don't seem to be a problem, that you can say, well, wait a minute. You want to be able to know a little bit about what you're buying. Okay. I think we've about covered it here. And I think you guys have a good idea of what Landlocked how it may impact your purchase of a vacant lot. So what you're looking at, just to summarize, so when we're talking about whether a lot is landlocked or not, what we're trying to determine is, does it have legal access first? Well, I need to verify that through the county. I can go on the county website. I can click on what appears to be a road at the frontage of my lot. If it says there's an owner, most likely that's a private owner. Now I need to know, is the county maintaining it, or is this guy maintaining as a private citizen? He can have a gate. He can branch that off any way he wishes if he's a private citizen. Although, like I said, we've run into hybrid situations where a private citizen owned it, but the county maintain it, and therefore, because the county maintain it, that made it a public road. I don't know how the logistics work there, because if you ask the county to trim your trees on your property even though it's not public and you own it, they would tell you to go take a walk. There's probably a main thoroughfare law or something like that that they kind of, lay their reasoning on, but I digress. So legal access. And then the last thing is the physical access. I know I have legal access to the frontage of my property. I think I have enough frontage to build. Again, remember that frontage is key too. I might have legal access, but if there's only a little piece, corner that touches the road because the parcel's at an angle and it looks like I only have a few feet of frontage on that legal access road directly adjacent to the front of my property, now I need to figure out if it's buildable per the zoning law. If I cross that threshold, then I get into physical. And that's just a matter of, am I willing to put in the money, the time, the effort to clear to the front of the lot and go through that process? Again, sometimes these lots, there's a home right here, and this is cleared all the way to here. I mean, man, if you can get this for the right price and figure out how to get that clear to your house, you're just extending the road, and that's a great deal. So this one I used because it's a fairly long route that would need to be cleared. This might be something where someone said, nah, I'm not really interested in that, even if it is the right price. So I wanted to kind of give two different extremes of where you're looking at legal and physical access, and it may or may not be an issue. It depends on who you are, what your resources are. But after the physical access, after all of that's done, now I know I have a property I can build on. It has legal access. Now I can get to work of actually doing the physical development of the property. I'm going to clear access. Once I have cleared access, that opens up the door to clear the property, clear a driveway to a build site. Next, I can work on getting utilities set. I have to pull proper permits. I'm glossing over a lot of intermediate steps here with the county, contractors, utility, blah, 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 blah. As I tell people, again, I'm going to say it again, buying land is the easy part. All of your money, time, and effort is going to start after that. So just doing a little due diligence goes a long way. All right, guys. So as always, please subscribe to usrecland.com. Also subscribe to Kriegmill, KREIGMILL.com, and also this YouTube channel. We try to bring you content that you're interested in that helps you as a land investor or a land buyer for your future retirement, vacation, or primary residence home. Maybe it's a recreation property that you just want to camp on and get off the beaten path. If that's the case, we would definitely be the location for you to check us out online. So usrecland, kriegmill.com, click the YouTube notification bell. That way you'll automatically be notified of new video listings like this. So just wanted to bring some more educational content. Hopefully it helps you guys in your search. Some things to look out for initially when you're first looking at different prospective lots for your future development. This lot right here, for example, see this one, even though you might not want to build on it, it still might serve as a recreation or investment lot. So one last thing I just want to add to that. You might invest because, again, you've got urban sprawl just to your east. It's what, 80 yards away from you. So, if that continues and that real estate development continues in the area, your lot's going to go up. Then as soon as your lot's improved, you have immediate equity, and then you have appreciation of the improved lot over time. So you have those three things operating for you. So this might be an investment situation, just a buy and hold it for 5 to 10 years and then flip it and sell it later. Or just a recreation property where you can just go out there and camp and hang out. But this is kind of more suburban. I don't know if this would be the area you would want to do that. All right. So again, hope this is helpful in your search, but until next time, happy land hunting.